Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be reviewing the Kre-o Transformers Battle Changer Ironhide. Now, I have already introduced this whole Kre-o thing. Long story short, it's basically Hasbro's version of Lego. And since Hasbro owns Transformers, they decided why not mix the two. And of course, we already know that didn't really work out too well, and so they just sort of leave Lego doing the whole Lego Transformers thing now. But enough of that. Let's get into the figure itself. Now, or set. It's a construction figure. How about that? So, take a look at the Ironhide. We'll say I do like the maroon color for Ironhide. That's a pretty cool color for Ironhide, right? But I will say, looking at this, I will say it kind of feels like something's missing, or it does. I will get this out of the way. To me, at least, this feels incomplete. And I'll get into why as we go into this review. But for now, let's take a look at the build itself. And of course, we're going to start with the head and torso. It's your crayon torso. See, here we get a nice look at Ironhide's noggin. And removing the helmet looks nice, has a fair bit of details and stuff. Here is the squared off chin lined metallic silver headpiece with his printing on it. That nice printing on it. Now let's put that back in place. Has a nice print on his torso that is definitely reminiscent of his G1 van mode. G1 vehicle mode. Very nice. Just barely looking through the arms, you can see that, yeah, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on here. But hey, he does have a pair of nice weapons, which we'll get into later. Now moving down to the legs, it looks nice. Do like how these maroon vent pieces sort of contrast with these black thigh pieces. The legs, very chunky. And for vehicle modes, for these guys who transform into vehicle modes, at least, their bottom legs are usually pretty chunky to fit some of the vehicle mode bulk into the legs. Not a bad way of doing that. But dare I ask, where are his feet? Because this design, he appears he doesn't really have any feet. You know what his feet are? Bam. These little plain hinge pieces. Those are his feet. Crazy. And turning him around, I will say that is a lot of kibble, vehicle mode kibble, just on his back. Very back kibbly. It does feel like I'm very negative on this figure, but there's a few things I do really like about this guy. I do kind of like how he sort of uses this roof piece as a sort of like cape sort of thing, I guess. Very nice. And again, the colors on Ironhide are pretty cool. I mean, this maroon color is something I can totally see an Ironhide having. But yeah, not really a whole lot to talk about his robot modes. I mean, you do get a good bit of stickers on mostly his Kibble backpack. And let's just count up the stickers really quick. So, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, he has 8. So I counted up, he has 8 stickers. 2 here on his shins. 3 here on this one roof panel, which a couple of the corners are kind of peeling away. But I've already explained why. Long story short, I had these clear sets for a little while now. And stuff's gonna happen with these guys over time. So, and there's 2 of these vent detail stickers up here on these pieces. These like wedge pieces. And this one sticker right here. And we'll talk about this hinge thing later. But we have some details and a Autobot logo right there. Yeah, decent amount of stickers. How about we get into that robot art mode articulation? So, his head is on a swivel, like any Kre-o minifigure head swivel should. The arms, much like our previous review, he has these ball-jointed shoulders that are splayed out. So his arms can go up to almost 90. He can go up and down, can rotate back and forth, and he has that sort of butterfly joint movement, like so. And his elbows are on ball joints as well. So he has like the 90 degrees of elbow bent, and that's ball joint also. But you basically using that ball joint as a sort of makeshift bicep swivel. Very nice. He does have, however, he does have a waist swivel, and unlike the Grimlock, it's actually uninterrupted as soon as you, like, getting this out of the way, it is completely uninterrupted. So that's nice, at least. And for the hips, there are on ball joints, so they can kick up to that far. They can kick back to that far. I'm just moving this. Well, especially when you get this stuff out of the way. Talk about the kibble really quick. Due to transformation, there is a sort of double hinge thing here. So this segment's on a hinge and this segment's on a hinge. Ball jointed knees, so you can bend. Does have a 98-degree bend at the knees, and you can swivel his knees around, and because you can even bend his knees backwards a good ways. And for foot articulation, he does have these, if you can call them feet. They're basically these like hinge things, which, despite them not really looking like feet, they do have a nice like back and forth range. That is, if you can manage to balance them well while in a pose. So just have it like that. So yeah, he does have a good range of articulation. He just might topple over a bit because of the Ghibli back. And my guess as of why the feet are like this is because I believe this is them trying to figure out a way on how to keep this guy standing with this big kibble back thing. Therefore, their feet needed to go back a bit, and because the vehicle mode wouldn't fit anything over here, due to how they designed this transformation, they couldn't really have anything up here for feet. So this is what we got. For feet, at least. At least that's my guess. But after that, we can talk about the weapons he includes, and he does include these dual-wielding snipers. These dual-wielding sniper rifles. And if you're asking me, why on Earth or Cybertron would Ironhide, of all Cybertronians, be dual-wielding sniper rifles, a usually two-handed weapon used for sniper missions? Well, if you plug these very nice sniper rifles, by the way, these are very nice, nicely detailed. If you just plug them into the little holes that are pretending to be his hands, you can, in fact, kinda recreate that Mexican standoff scene from Dark of the Moon. At least that would be my guess. Even though that was a movie style Ironhide and not this Ironhide, but whatever. They're just mixing certain things together, and I can appreciate them for that. And the last thing I'm going to mention before size comparisons is the overall proportions on this guy. I mean, and again, he feels incomplete, because if we take a look, we'll talk about that in a second, but you can see that he has, yes, all of these Kre-o battle changers are going to have these weird proportions, because they're using the Kre-o minifigure torsos. However, that combined with the very skinny, very bare bones arms, combined with the big, chunky shins, with practically nothing, with these bare hinge pieces as feet that aren't even visible when you stand him up, and the Ghibli backpack. Not a pretty looking robot mode in my opinion. But with that out of the way, let's get on to size comparisons. So, we have our minifigure. We have our Kre-o figure. And yes, it's not too bad. that's how he sized up. That's how he is sized compared to those two. And here he is next to Crosscut. Here he is next to that, and here he is next to the Battle Changer Grimlock. Getting these guys out of the way. Now, if we take a look at this Grimlock from the same wave of these, or at least I think it's the same wave of these. It's the same, like, set like, line thing. So, you can see Grimlock, right? He still has the Kre-o torso and head. And yes, I will admit that his proportions are still a bit wonky compared to other Grimlock toys. But note how his arms are built. How his arms are built like at the forearm, and he has parts attached to his shoulders. Kind of give him these nice, like, rounded shoulders. He has these hands. That's another thing. He has hands built onto these forearms. And of course, for his legs, he has these hinge pieces that are forming his feet. But not only that, he uses parts from his alt mode for his robot mode, which is also what this guy does. But you get what I'm saying. He has hands, he has feet, he has arms that are actually, built. Whereas we look at Ironhide here, his arms are just two pieces, minus the guns. His feet are practically non-existent. Like, if you stand up, you don't see his feet. And even comparing their back kibble, like, for Grimlock, he has, his legs are built to hold his figure up from toppling over, but they're built in a way that doesn't make it look like he has no feet, But enough of that. Let's transform this guy. So, starting off, let's take off the guns and send them off to the side. Next, we're going to flip this out. We're going to flip the quote-unquote feet up. We're going to combine the legs using this Technic-looking pin. Combining with the legs like that. Rotating the waist 180. Rotating the biceps 180. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to attach these arms onto these studs here at the side of the kibble shins. So we're just going to attach it to this stud like so, and do the same for the other side. And making sure we straighten that out. Flip this up, flip this down, making sure that this goes past, that this is able to pass there, and what's going to happen is the windshield part, or at least the maroon part that's attached to the windshield part, is going to tab into these studs right here. So that's going to tab in, making sure that everything's lined up nicely. We flip this out, and then for our last step, we just plug these guns onto each stud on the side of this hinge looking piece. And once you get that attached, here we have the Battle Changer Ironhide in his car mode. And I will say, this is probably my preferred mode for this Battle Changer. And I will talk good. I do like how the car is shaped. It has a it has a okay shaping to it. Looking at it from the back, it's doesn't really have a whole lot of rear detail, but does have some sticker detailings and stuff like that. And I do like how the guns can attach to this gray piece and have it look like it's not just a gun attached to the roof of the car. It actually looks like a sort of turret. I actually like that. This is probably one of my favorite things about the car mode of this set. The other thing, it rolls extremely smoothly. Like, this thing is very nice. And another thing, it holds up pretty well. You can drop it, you can roll it over, and it might loosen up a bit if you don't squeeze it together right. If you don't like squeeze up everything afterwards. But aside from that, the car mode is held up very nicely. Now let's talk about the rest of the car mode. You think the aspects of it aren't so bad. Starting from most minor, some of these gray parts here in particular have been yellowed a little bit, which I'm not even going to put it against it because I've had this set like the Grimlock. I've also had this one for quite a while. However, something that I am going to put against this is the fact that, like his robot mode, this mode also feels incomplete. And you can kind of see why. If we look at the front, you can see that the front doesn't have any headlight details. It doesn't have any no headlights. It has stuff that you can kind of imagine it being a bumper, but aside from that, there's not really much going on here at the front at all. The stickers and the engine block stickers are okay, but you do get gaps, stud gaps in the in the front of the car area, which can easily be filled in. And looking at the sides, you can take a good long look at not only the completely exposed arms that are just pegged into the side, but through the gaps. But through the gaps, you can see the robot mode from an angle such as this. If you were able to cover these gaps by, I don't know, attaching something to these studs, that probably would have been fine. But yeah, there is a gap here which I'm not even going to bother with it that much because of everything else that's this thing sort of has against it. And to top it off, the rear of the car has no, aside from the sticker, has really no details at all. No tail lights, no bumper, no, thing of any kind. It's just very plain and very bland. I really didn't want this to be a sort of negative review, but the more I think about it, this is really not that great, even compared to the other two battle changers I have. Like, there is so much here that is just doesn't feel right. Like, these gaps, like again, these gaps that's just exposing the internal robot parts. These panels on the side, which on top of feeling very plain and very bland, they just aren't very good looking arms either. Now, the overall silhouette and the fact that it rolls really nicely, and this turn thing on the back, it does help me enjoy this as that combined with its overall solidness, and it's really something that I play with, but I just don't really think about how it looks. So yeah, this is my preferred mode for this Kre-o set. It really doesn't look good in this mode either. And as for my overall thoughts, well, before we get into that, we gotta get into the size comparisons. So here he is next to the minifigure and Kre-on figure. So you can see that compared to that. Don't even bother. You're not going to fit a figure of either sorts into that cab. Here he is next to the skids, and you can see that he does size up to the skids very decently. He's about as long as Skids is, so that's something. Skids is still a bit taller, still a little bit taller. And they're both about the same width, but nearly the same width. So he's around the size of Skids. And I guess that's it for the size comparisons. So overall, yeah, where I still do enjoy the car mode and these sniper rifle accessories, the overall set does feel incomplete. The car mode is still nice. I do enjoy the car mode. For all the pluses it's got, that doesn't include its appearance. It's still really, dare I say, not good. And yes, out of the 3 battle changers that I have, I will say that this one is easily the worst I have regarding that. So do I recommend this to you? Honestly, no. Really, no. It's good in its car mode, but you can probably build something better than this out of the spare parts in your bin. It's not really worth the hunt, nor the recommendation. And I guess that'll be it. If you enjoyed this review, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.